Oh, he's waving. Okay. Yeah, it is.
All right, Mr. White, we're ready to call your case.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor.
All right, so we're on the record. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I just checked with Ms. Russell, and she should be, it should be working fine. Technology should be working fine.
All right, Ms. Russell, you should unmute yourself. One of your devices should be unmuted. There we go.
Good morning.
All right. So we're on the record in docket 24-00447. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Shatiba Russell. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Miss Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Mr. White.
Good morning, Your Honor. Toby White, P57988. I'm appearing by Zoom. I'm in a car, but I am not the driver, and I consent to representing Ms. Russell by electronic means.
All right, and ma'am, you are Shatiba Marie Russell, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this is the time set for a preliminary examination day. I am in possession of a stipend order to adjourn. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. That is correct. We are adjourning today. Mr. White was just retained and he's currently in a trial in 30th Circuit. I believe there needs to be a waiver of the 21 days, though, in order to adjourn. So that's why we're here today.
All right, Mr. White, is that a correct statement? And is your client prepared to waive the 21-day rule?
That's a complete, accurate statement, and she is prepared to waive her 21 days.
All right. May I inquire of your client of the waiver of the 21-day rule, Mr. White?
You may.
All right, Miss Russell, you understand you have the right to a prelim within 21 days of your date of arraignment. A preliminary examination is a probable cause hearing in which the people would have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime has been committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. You are represented today by Attorney Toby White, who would be present to cross-examine any witnesses or contest any charges brought against you by the people of the state of Michigan. That's my understanding today. It is your wish to waive your right to a prelim within 21 days. You wouldn't be waiving your right to a prelim in general, just within 21 days, so that Mr. White can come in, represent you. He has a conflict because he's in trial right now. And so we would move this past the 21-day period so you can be zealously represented by Mr. White. Is it your wish today to waive your right to a prelim within the 21-day period?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And the people also waive the right to a prelim within 21 days?
We do, Your Honor.
All right. I find the waiver of the 21-day rule to be knowing, voluntarily, and accurately made. And we will, I know, Mr. White, you may not have, or let's give you some dates and then you can see if this is around the time that you don't have a trial.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's it. If Your Honor wishes, during one of the breaks this afternoon, I can have my paralegal and she can email down to your office to work out a date.
All right. Will that work?
That's fine.
Listen, all right. So we'll set this for prelim in an anticipated date. Once we figure out, because it does make sense to get dates scheduled now that are not going to work out. So Miss Shatiba Russell, please keep in contact with your attorney, Mr. White. We're going to get you a new date once we look at his schedule and look at the court schedule. And you'll get notice sent to your last known address, which is the Kavanaugh address. Is that still a good address for you, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Once we figure out when a good date for prelim is between Mr. White and the court, then we will set it for prelim on that date. Now that you waived the 21-day rule, all right, ma'am?
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else for the record in docket 24000447, Mr. White?
No, just a note that obviously we will copy Sister Prosecutor on all this thing so that it coordinates with her schedule as well.
Right. Anything else, Miss Wilson?
Nothing from the people.
All right, Miss Russell, you're all set. We'll get you a new date to appear in court once we figure out when that date is. All right, ma'am?
Okay, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. All right, you're all set. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So. And then, Ms. Wilson, did you get a call from Mr. Blackman yesterday?
I did, yes, yep, and I am fine with coming in this afternoon.
All right, and only just to waive the 21-day
Yep.
rule and get a new date.
Yep,
So you don't have to, there's no witnesses, you're not.
correct, yep, I've already called them
All
off,
right.
yep.
Sorry about that. Right. Mr. Russell, Mr. White's busy.
Yes.
And sir, you are Gregory Taylor, is that correct? Thank you. This is the time set for a preliminary examination today. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's my understanding that this is going to be a waiver to circuit court.
And this is a waiver as charged,
Correct.
and then negotiations are to continue.
Correct.
Is that a correct and fair statement, Mr. Etheridge?
Yes, Your Honor.
And may I inquire of your client, Mr. Taylor, of his waiver of the prelim?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Taylor, you understand you have a right to a preliminary examination today. A preliminary examination is a probable cause hearing in which the people would have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime has been committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. You are represented today by Attorney Derek Etheridge, and he would be present to cross-examine any witnesses or contest any charges brought against you by the people of the state of Michigan. Do you understand that, sir? Yes. It is my understanding it is your wish to waive your right to preliminary examination, have this case bound over as charged to circuit court where negotiations are to continue between the people of the state of Michigan and yourself. Is it your wish today to waive your right to preliminary examination? Yes. Okay. Do the people also waive their right to preliminary
The
examination?
people unconditionally waive the right, Your Honor.
All right. I find the waiver of the preliminary examination to be knowing, voluntarily, and accurately made. And Ms. Wilson, once again, I will give you the bind over paperwork for everyone to sign. Thank you. All right, I'm in possession of the bind over paperwork. Will indicate on today's date, March 7th, 2024, the examination was waived. And I will sign it accordingly. Anything else for the record in docket 2400446, Ms. Wilson?
Nothing from the people.
Mr. Etheridge?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, your time in district court is done. Mr. Taylor, you'll get your next date in circuit court for Mr. Etheridge, which is the trial court, right, sir? Okay, that's all for the record on that file.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So on my document, Ms. Wilson, we have McBride,
Yeah.
Brown, and Owens,
Owens,
Reed,
Hill,
and Sam.
Stanford, Brisbois.
But the 9 o'clocks are Miss Donnelly's got the 9:30s. Is that right?
Yes, that's what it looks like.
All
Yeah.
right.
I haven't seen Miss Wanji yet.
Yeah, I've not seen her either. And we know where Miss Robinson's
She's right
somewhere.
there, yeah. I'm right
Oh,
here.
she's right there.
Here.
That's a good idea. All right, so the case is next.
Mr. McBride.
All right, so we're on the record in docket 23-02890. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Edward McBride. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson with People.
Ms.
Karen
Roberts.
Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. McBride.
And sir, you are Edward McBride, is that correct? Thank you. This is time set for preliminary examination today. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have witnesses here today and we are ready to proceed with the exam.
All right, are there any preliminary matters to come to the court's attention?
Just your typical sequestration order, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Robinson.
That would be the only thing that we would request
All
as well.
right, so I'll leave that to the parties. They know the case better than me. If there's anybody in the courtroom who's going to watch testimony and maybe a potential witness, I'll have them leave, or you can bring it to my attention. Other than that, are there any preliminary matters, Ms. Wilson?
None.
Ms. Robinson, any preliminary matters before we get started?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Wilson, are the people ready to call their first witness?
We are, Your Honor. The people will call Latoya Haygood.
All right, Ms. Haygood, I'll have you come up here. Please stand right in front of me. I'm going to have you state your first name and last name for the record and spell them both.
Latoya Haygood, LATOYA HEGGOOD.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Right, I'm going to have you have a seat here. The microphone is for recording purposes. And so I'm going to have you, so that's so the court recorder can hear you. So please project to the back as best you can right now. Ms. Wilson, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Haygood, on August 29th, 2023, did you have an occasion to make a police report?
Yes,
Yes, okay. And without going too far into specifics, generally speaking, what was that in reference to?
yes,
Okay, and who was this? Did you know the person that this was involved with?
yes.
And do you know their name? What is their name?
Over the side.
And you said this was a domestic, so did you have a relationship with this person?
Yes.
What kind of relationship?
Boyfriend,
Sorry, can you say that again?
boyfriend.
Girlfriend, okay. And so you have generally a good idea of what this person looks like?
Yes,
Okay, can you, do you see him here in the courtroom today?
yes.
Can you point him out and describe something he's wearing? All right, and what is he wearing?
Black hood.
Black hoodie. Your Honor, just for the record, Ms. Haygood did point over in the direction of the defense table next to Ms. Robinson. So I would request that identification be made for the record for the purposes of preliminary exam
All right.
today.
I have no objection.
No, so the witness has identified the defendant for purposes of preliminary examination. Ms. Haygood, I'm going to have you speak as close to the microphone as you can because we're having trouble picking you up. And then we might, let's turn off the fan so that we can hear better. All right, so purposes identification, the witness identified the defendant for purposes of preliminary. Ms. Wilson, you may proceed.
So Ms. Haygood, on August 29th, 2023, about how long had you been dating Mr. McBride?
4 years.
4 years. Did you ever live together?
Yes,
Were you living together on August 29th?
yes.
Do you have any children together?
Yes. No.
No, okay. Do you have children?
Yes.
But not with Mr. McBride? Oh, is that a no?
No.
Okay. So on that August 29th date, what were you doing, if anything, when this altercation started?
Can I say something?
Is it in response to my question?
Yes, but I have something to say. I mean, it's
Just answer the question, ma'am. Just answer the question.
but I am gonna answer the question, but I have something to say also.
All right, first answer the
Because
question.
I've never been in a court like this.
Okay. So I'll make it easy. You just have to answer the question.
Can you ask me that again?
Yeah, so on that August 29th date, when you made that report to police, what were you doing?
We were into it,
And what does that mean?
arguing,
Arguing? And do you recall where this occurred?
home,
And where is that?
ask me how.
Is that in Lansing? To the best of your knowledge, is that in Ingham County?
Yes.
Is that in the state of Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. Now, during this argument, at some point, did things become physical?
Yes.
And how did that occur?
Ways, only way I can say it, type of ways. I can't really say how. I mean, I'm not there, and I'm not in that person's body, so I can't say how that happens. But we were
Okay.
into it.
So from your perspective, what was the person that was getting physical with you, what were they doing?
Basically, he was angry.
Okay, and did he put his hands on you somehow?
Yeah.
How?
Punched me,
Punched you? Do you remember where he punched you?
face.
Face? And did you want to be punched?
No.
Okay. Do you remember if you had any injuries from that?
Yeah.
What kind of injuries?
Red eye.
Red eye, okay. Now, in the days afterwards, did you have any soreness in that area? Sorry, can you say yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now, fast forwarding to the next day, that would be August 30th of 2023. Do you recall if you made a report on that day as well?
Yes.
The next day, August 30th? No, you don't remember? Would reviewing the statement that you made to police refresh your recollection?
Only thing I remember is I did it on the same day. I don't know what the next day. But in my recall, it was the same day. It wasn't,
Same day? Okay, but there was a subsequent report after the first one?
no.
No? Okay, I have nothing further for this.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Robinson?
Just briefly, Ms. Haygood, you stated that on the 29th that you and Mr. McBride got into an argument.
Yes.
Okay, what was that argument about?
Basically about I was just trying to have a conversation and what was ever on his mind and went the wrong way. That's how I could say it.
Okay, you were trying to have a conversation with him, with Mr. McBride about what was on his mind?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, and then you stated that it became physical. How did it become physical?
Just answer that.
Well, I mean, from what I understood, you stated that it became physical, but you didn't really give us an answer on how
I
it
did
started.
answer it. She said to answer the question and I did answer it.
Okay, well, can you elaborate a little bit more in detail? Well, you need to answer my question.
I just answered her. She just asked me the same thing.
Ma'am, just answer the question. Don't argue with the attorney. Just answer the question.
He punched me, he slapped me, and abused me.
Okay, but can you tell me how that got started? That's my
That was the
question.
whole day. I can't be specific. I forget things. I mean, it happened. What more do you want me to say?
So when you guys were arguing about, I guess, I'm not really sure what the argument was exactly about. Can you tell me the topic of the argument?
Basically, I asked him a question about a repeat about the incident we had the night before.
Okay,
Basically,
And then he just immediately became physical towards you.
No, I'm not gonna say that. No, it was basically it was just like an anger issue already in the air. Basically, I'm gonna say that it was already motions in the air, however I could put that. And then I guess when I asked him the question, it just went a totally different way.
And then it immediately became physical.
Not immediately, but it got physical.
Okay, so what happened between the argument and it getting physical then if it wasn't immediate?
I'm gonna say when we got in the car, that's when it got physical.
Okay, so how long between the argument and when you got in the car did it become physical?
15 minutes outside.
Okay, and he just became physical with you out of nowhere.
It was just like, why are you asking me? I said, why are you acting like I'm not in the same house as you? And why are you acting like nothing's wrong? And from there, it just went from there.
And when you say it went from there, did that mean there was more just verbal argument or?
I'll
Then-
say, yeah,
Okay, so verbal argument continued for about how long?
15 minutes.
Okay. After the physical altercation, how long did it take you to call the police?
After I didn't see him.
I'm sorry?
After I didn't see him anymore.
Okay, and is that because he left or you left?
Because he left.
Besides you and Mr. McBride, was anybody else with you at that time?
Nope.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. So Ms. Haygood, you had mentioned, I believe that there were two separate incidents. Is that correct?
Huh?
So you had mentioned that you guys were in an argument about something that had happened the day before. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the day before, was there a physical altercation?
No.
No? Okay, do you recall telling police on August 29th, 2023, that you were in a car going to go donate, that you got into a heated argument, and that Mr. McBride punched you multiple times in the shoulder and neck area?
I said we got into it in the car.
Okay, may I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay.
Are you pushing to refresh?
Yes, sorry, yes. So for the record, I'm handing Ms. Latoya Haygood, LAPD report 23519084455. Now, this is page 2 of the report. Ms. Haygood, your statement starts about here. Would you mind reading that silently and then just let me know when you're done? You done? All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and get that back from you. All right, now, Ms. Haygood, after reading that report, is it still your testimony today that you did not tell police that you
Yes,
were,
I did.
you did tell police that you were struck in the car? Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
And so, and then I'm gonna ask some questions and then a follow-up. Miss Haygood, what date now, after refreshing your memory, did the incident in the car happen?
29.
The 29th? Okay. And then, and do you recall where you were in the city of Lansing? You were in the car?
At home.
Okay. And is that the Georgetown Boulevard address?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any follow-up questions, Ms. Wilson?
Just briefly. So Ms. Haygood, the incident that we were describing when you first started testifying today, is that the same incident as when you were in the car?
Yeah.
Yes. Was there another incident inside the house?
No.
No? Okay. So on August 30th, 2023, do you recall making a report to police?
What date?
August 30th, 2023?
Honestly, I remember. I don't be paying attention to the dates, but I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not trying to
No.
lie. I don't want you to know that.
Yeah,
But
no.
I did.
So, but do you recall making another report to police after the one with the
Judge,
car?
this is asked and answered. It's beyond the scope of
Yeah,
work for us.
I'll if she can answer it.
Okay.
But then, so do and you can answer it. Do you recall making a report after August 29th?
After August, I don't know the 29th. So I don't know the 29th. I
Okay.
remember the 29th.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any other questions or cross examinations based on the court's questions, Ms. Robinson?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused from the people?
She may, Your Honor.
From
No
the
objection.
All right. Thank you for your appearance today. You're all set, ma'am. Any further witnesses, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, Your Honor. The people call Officer Jacqueline Lindeman.
All right, Officer Lindeman, you can come up here. Please state your name and spell your first name and your last name for the record.
Jackie Lindeman, JACKILINDEMAN.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, you can have a seat. The microphone is for recording purposes, so please project to the back of the room as best you can. And Ms. Wilson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Lindeman, where are you currently employed?
Lansing Police Department.
And were you employed there in August of 2023?
Yes.
And what was your job title in August of 2023?
Patrol officer.
What were your general duties?
Just responding to calls for service, routine patrol.
Do you recall if you were working as a police officer on August 29th of 2023?
Yes.
How were you dressed?
Like I am now, except I had a vest carrier on with more equipment.
Okay, and in that vest, is there some kind of marking of police or Lansing Police Department?
Yes.
Okay, can you describe a little bit what that looks like?
Well, there's the patches that you can see here on my shoulders. And then there's a actual badge on the vest that says police officer and my badge number. There's also a name tag.
And when you were working on that date, August 29th of 2023, were you dispatched to 1400 Georgetown?
Yes,
And is that in the city of Lansing,
yes,
Ingham County,
yes,
Michigan?
yes.
Okay. And why were you dispatched on that day?
The call was for a female reporting she had been assaulted.
Okay, and when you arrived at that address, did you make contact with anyone?
Yes,
And who did you make contact with?
Latoya.
You-
I'm not sure the pronunciation, Hagad or Hagad.
Okay. And when you got there, did you observe anything notable about Miss Hagan?
She was visibly upset, had been crying.
Okay, and when you were speaking with her, did you obtain any information about Miss Haygood and her relationship with her attacker?
Yes.
Objection calls for hearsay.
Response.
Your Honor, I am trying to establish, first of all, the requisite preliminary information that's necessary for admission of statements under 768.27C, and also as possible impeachment inquiry under MRE 613, as Ms. Haygood kind of didn't remember the exact timeline of events.
So you're offering the statements pursuant to 768.27C on evidence of statement by a declarant relating to the infliction or threat of physical injury is admissible if the following apply, and I'll state that for the record. Statement purports to narrate, describe, or explain the infliction or threat of physical injury upon the declarant, the action in which evidence is offered in an offense involving domestic assault, which was previously testified. The statement was made at or near the time of the infliction or threats of physical injury. Evidence of statement made more than 5 years before the following the current action or proceeding is inadmissible. This is not, the statement was made to a law enforcement officer and the testimony would reflect that. So at this point in time, I find that these statements do come in based on the balancing test of whether the statement was made in contemplation of pending litigation. That does not seem to be the case. Whether the declarant has a bias or motive for fabricating the statement at the extent that does not seem to be the case at this time. And whether the statement is corroborated by other evidence, other statements are also admissible. And of course, Ms. Haygood also already testified. So with that understanding, I understand the objection for hearsay and then the confrontation that it's based on pursuant for purposes of preliminary examination. The court finds pursuant to the statements made by 768.27C are admissible at this time. Any record you want to make, Ms. Robinson?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess before I proceed, I would just I guess inquire as to Your Honor and defense counsel. Are we then proceeding with the statements, or do you want me to lay the foundation?
I think you've laid the foundation.
I believe I have as
Yeah,
well. I just
so-
wanted to double check.
Okay.
Okay. So Officer Lindemann, what did Ms. Haygood say had happened when you arrived?
If I could also go back to what I was initially dispatched to.
Yeah. Mhm.
The dispatch notes, we have a screen in our car that tells us what the caller stated to the 911 operator. She had called about.
I'm going to object to this being hearsay under hearsay, Judge, at this point.
This sounds like hearsay within hearsay.
I will concede to that, Your Honor, and I
Okay.
will ask the witness to move on to
All right,
okay,
thank
the
you.
next statement.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So what did Ms. Haygood say when you arrived at the scene?
She told me her boyfriend assaulted her and left in a vehicle.
Okay, and did she describe how the assault occurred?
Yes,
How did it occur?
it occurred inside the vehicle.
And did she say like what method of force or physical violence was used during the assault?
Yes,
What was that?
that she was punched 2 to 3 times with a closed fist in the right side of her face and neck.
Okay, and did she give you the name of the individual that did this?
Yes,
And what was that name?
it was Jared McBride.
Okay, nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Robinson, any cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
Just one follow-up question that I'll provide. You were dispatched on August 29th, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Any redirect or questions based on the court's question, Ms. Wilson?
No, Your Honor.
All right,
None for the defense.
thank you. Thank you for your appearance, Ms. Lindeman, today. You're excused. Are there any further proofs from the people?
Just one more witness, Your Honor, Officer Jason Murdoch.
Officer Murdoch, will I have you come up here? Please state your name and spell your first name and last name for the record.
It's Officer Jason Murdoch, JASON MURDOCK.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth
Yes.
under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. Have a seat. The microphone is for recording purposes, so please project to the back of the room as best you can. Ms. Wilson, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Murdoch, back in August of 2023, were you employed?
Yes.
And where were you employed?
With the city of Lansing,
What was your job title?
police officer,
What were your general responsibilities?
patrol the city of Lansing, answer calls for service, respond to crimes, etc.
Okay. Do you recall if you were working as a police officer on August 30th of 2023?
Yes.
How were you dressed?
I was wearing my police uniform, fully
Okay.
identifiable.
And when you say fully identifiable, does it say police somewhere on it?
Yes.
Now on that date, were you dispatched to 1400 Georgetown?
Yes.
Is that in Lansing,
Yes.
Ingham County,
Yes.
Michigan?
Yes.
And do you recall what you were dispatched for on that date?
I was for a domestic assault.
Okay, and when you arrived at that location, did you make contact with anyone?
Yes.
Do you recall who that was?
Her first name was Latoya.
Okay, and Your Honor, at this time, I would seek to admit statements by Ms. Haygood to Officer Murdoch on this date pursuant to 768.27C for the same reasons as were put on the record with Officer Lindeman.
All right, motion to admit statements made under 76.27C. Ms. Robinson responds.
I would continue my objection as
Okay.
previously noted.
The objection is to hearsay, and along the same lines, confrontation. I find that 768.27C, the initial foundational requirements have been met for preliminary purposes for the statements to come in that they are a statement by the declarant relating to infliction or threat of physical injury. These statements purport to narrate, describe, or explain the infliction of that injury. This was a domestic assault, as previously indicated, and the statement was made at or near the time of the infliction of threats. We have some previous testimonies to that, and the statement was made to a law enforcement officer, which Mr. Murdoch has testified to. He was in uniform and working as a patrol officer on that day. The factors I considered are whether the statement was made in contemplation of pending litigation, where there is none at this point in time. Declarant has bias or motive for fabricating the statement, no greater than the regular bias or fabrication that the person was indicated on and cross-examined on, and whether the statement is corroborated by evidence Other than the statements, we do have the testimony of the complaining witness. So I'll allow the statements pursuant to 768.27C. Ms. Wilson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Murdoch, did Ms. Haygood explain to you what had happened that prompted the call?
Yes.
And what did she say?
I don't remember verbatim, but basically that an assault had occurred that night.
Okay, and did she describe how the assault had occurred?
She stated that she was assaulted while in her apartment.
Okay, and did she say what kind of physical movements or force was used during the assault?
She stated that she was struck.
Did she say whether it was what she was struck with?
Closed fist.
And did she identify who she was struck by?
Yes.
Who was that?
By Edward. Sorry, I don't remember the last name.
Okay,
By
that's
Edward.
okay. Okay. And did she say whether or not she wanted to be hit?
Sorry,
Did she say whether or not she wanted to be hit?
she did not indicate that she wanted.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Ms. Robinson.
Briefly. You were called out on the 30th. That was around about 2 in the morning, correct?
Around 2, sometime around that time.
Okay, and when you were speaking with Ms. Haygood, she stated that the assault occurred earlier. Did she tell you how much earlier, or do you remember that?
I remember that she did indicate that an assault did occur earlier.
But do you remember how much time earlier, or did she give you a time frame?
I don't remember specifically.
Were you wearing a body worn camera at that time?
I was.
Was it on and working?
Yes.
Looks like also, were you aware if any sort of EMTs or medical personnel were dispatched to the scene?
I believe they were dispatched to the scene that night.
Okay, do you know if anybody was treated?
I believe she was treated on scene.
Okay. Are you entirely sure of that?
Without my report, I can't.
Sure. Would looking at your report refresh your recollection?
It would.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
May.
Like this is page 3 of 4 of the report that you wrote. I'll point you to the section under medical. Go ahead and review that, and when you're done, you can flip the document over.
Yeah.
And I'll just take that back. All right, did looking at that report refresh your recollection?
It did.
Okay, was anybody treated on scene?
So she was treated on scene, but she refused to be transported.
Okay, so she refused transport to the hospital.
Correct.
All right. Did you have any contact with Mr. McBride on that day?
I did not.
Okay. So he didn't make any statements to you?
No.
Were you the only officer that was on scene?
I was dispatched with someone else, I believe.
Okay, do you remember who that was?
I can't recall.
Nothing further.
Any redirect, Ms. Wilson?
None, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
He may, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused from the defense?
Yes, no objection.
All right, Officer Murdoch, you're excused. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you.
Any further witnesses from the people?
None for the people, Your Honor.
All right, do the
People
people rest
rest,
today? Any proofs today, Ms. Robinson?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. A motion for bind over, Ms. Wilson.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The defendant in this matter has been charged with 2 counts of domestic violence, 3rd offense. Today you have heard testimony from both the victim, Ms. Latoya Haygood, and the 2 officers that responded to the 2 incidents. Ms. Haygood's memory as to the exact timeline of the events was not super clear today. However, that is understandable given the time lapse that has occurred and also the trauma effect that can happen from an assault. She did testify here today that there were separate incidences with Mr. McBride, whom she identified in the courtroom here today, that both occurred either in her apartment or in the car outside her apartment in Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County. She testified that in both incidents, she was struck by Mr. McBride and that she did not want to be struck by Mr. McBride. She testified that they had a dating relationship for about 4 years and that they had at one point lived together. Both officers testified as to the incidences that they responded to, one on August 29th and one on August 30th. And in both incidents, they made contact with Ms. Haygood, who told them that she was struck by Mr. McBride, that she did not want to be struck by Mr. McBride, and that both incidences occurred again at that apartment address in Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County. For these reasons, Your Honor, today the people would be requesting bind over on both counts as charged in the offense or in the complaint, and the habitual offender notice would follow as well. Nothing further.
All right, response to motion for bind over, Ms. Robinson.
Yes, Your Honor. I do believe that Ms. Haygood did testify today, but I don't think that she testified to two separate incidents on the 29th. I remember her clearly getting up there and being asked, was that the only incident that happened in the car on the 29th? And she said yes. There were other, there's been testimony from Officer Lindeman and then Officer Murdoch, who may have established that she stated that there was an assault that occurred on the 30th, but I don't think Ms. Haygood herself mentioned any sort of incident that occurred on the 30th. And in fact, when confronted with it multiple times by the people, denied any sort of incident on the 30th occurring. So at this time, Your Honor, I don't believe that there is enough evidence for probable cause on for an incident that occurred on the 30th. And I would ask that you not find probable cause for that matter.
Thank you. Response, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will just restate that there were Ms. Haygood's memory of the exact timeline was a bit fuzzy today, but again, there has been a time lapse of about 6 months, I believe, since these offenses occurred, and as well, there's also material out there as to what can happen when somebody is assaulted and what that can do with their memory. So I will just rely on my previous arguments as well.
All right. Well, the courts heard the testimony of Ms. Haygood, Officer Lindeman, and Officer Murdoch in this matter. And the court finds that on August 29th, which was one of the dates, first dates tested, that the date of August 29th, identification was made, venue and location were made as at 1400 Georgetown Boulevard, apartment 2, city of Lansing, in the city of Lansing, Ingham County. And that Ms. Haygood said she was struck in the face. She first said she was struck in the face in the house. And then she said she was struck in the face in the car. And then she said August 29th, I was struck in the face. She was punched in the face. She obviously did not want to be punched. Or at the time, she indicated she didn't know I want to be punched. She said she was punched in the face. She had red eyes, soreness. That seems to be confirmed by Officer Lindeman's testimony concerning some of that event on August 29th. I find that probable cause being the second lowest standard, reasonable suspicion being the lowest standard. I find there's probable cause to believe that the August 29th date of domestic assault occurred upon Latoya Haygood, an individual whom he had a dating relationship. They indicated they've been together 4 years. They were living together and they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Also, so that is the bind over on the August 29th. And then this makes it a 5-year bind over because of the third offense notice that happened on July 27th, 2010 and May 26, 2017, which go to sentencing purposes, but it does require that this be a third offense for August 29th. And so I'll bind over to the circuit court on the 5-year felony and or $5,000. On the August 30th date, I think Ms. Robinson's correct in regards that Ms. Haygood, his testimony was a little fuzzy, was not as clear. However, we do have the officer who testified to the statements made. Officer Jason Murdoch came in and testified that on August 30th, he did respond to a police report, and Ms. Haygood at that time indicated that she was assaulted by the defendant on that date and time in the Georgetown address of the city of Lansing, Ingham County. She was not as clear as he was. He was more clear. She indicated that Mr. McBride, as she called him, Edward, was the perpetrator of the event. So I find in the count, which is count 1, August 30th, that the defendant did make an assault upon a battery upon Latoya Haygood, an individual whom he had a dating relationship as previously decided by Ms. Haygood. That's a misdemeanor bind over. It is a felony bind over because of the true prior convictions that lend it to be a 5-year bind over. I find counts 1 and 2 are bound over as charged. There is a third offense notice that also follows the file. There's also an habitual offender that also follows the file. So with that, but before I relinquish the preliminary examination, I'm looking at a bond. Ms. Wilson, did you want to be heard on bond in this case?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Ms. Robinson, the people don't want to be heard on bond. Bond was set initially at $1,500 PR with tether. Ms. Robinson, the people are not questioning that bond. I'm assuming you have no comment.
Yes, I have no comment at this time. It's been since August. There's not been any incidents. There's not been any alerts as to any sort of bond violations.
Okay. With the people's no comment and no assertion that bond should be reviewed, I would indicate for the record, Mr. McBride, that this seems to be a gift as far as I'm concerned, this bond. You got 2 prior assaultives, and then you're facing 2 poor counts for a 5-year. I would never do a PR bond on this case. But you're PR bonded on this case, all right? So this case is bound over as charged to circuit court based on probable cause evidence. And I will sign the bind over. The examination was held on today's date. And it was found that probable cause exists to believe that both the offense not cognizable by the district court has been committed and recognizable or cognizable by the district court has been committed, and the defendant committed the offense. And these are on both counts. So it's bound over as charged on counts 1 and 2. Sir, you will get your next you'll get your next date from Ms. Robinson. So keep in contact with Ms. Robinson, probably be in the next couple of weeks that your arraignment will set, or a waiver arraignment, depending. You don't get it in district court. You might get it in circuit court, but you're done in district court now. You're all in circuit court, and that'll be the trial court. All right, sir? All right. Anything else for the record in docket 2302890, Ms. Wilson?
Nothing for the people.
Ms.
No, Your Honor,
Robinson.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. McBride, good luck to you.
Yeah, I don't think she's here.
But you've got your witness on court stuff.
Yeah.
Do
Do we want to call Bill?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the 2-1 number, right? Yep. And then if you have any questions before that, just reach out to me.
I believe we're ready on Darcy Hill. This is going to be a field trip here.
Oh, Ms. Hill? All right.
I'm going to run down to this board real quick. Okay. I just need the computer charged. Yeah. Somebody else.
All right, so let's go on the record on 2400470. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Darcy Hill. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Donnelly.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Darcy Hill, who is not present.
Okay, this was set for 9:30. It is now 10:28. I do not see a Darcy Hill in the Zoom courtroom. There does not seem to be anybody by that indication in the physical courtroom or the waiting room. Based on representations of the counsel, it appears that Ms. Hill has failed to appear for her preliminary examination. Ms. Wilson, how did you want to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd be requesting a bench warrant in this matter. It's my understanding that Ms. Hill also failed to appear for some city cases earlier this week. So I think that she's kind of in the wind right now, so I would be requesting an immediate bench warrant.
Ms. Donnelly, any comment?
Well, it would be her first failure to appear on this file, so I generally would be asking for a 48-hour hold, but considering that she didn't fail to appear on Tuesday, she's probably gonna get bench warrants in those anyways, and I have not been able to get a hold of her. I've been trying for a couple of days now, so.
All right, I will indicate for the record, this is the first bench warrant bond. This is the first fail to appear on this controlled substance case. I do agree with Ms. Donnelly. She has previously failed to appear on other city files that are out there. So at this time, we'll issue a bench warrant and bond forfeiture. Anything else for the record in 24-00470, Ms. Wilson?
Nothing from the people.
Ms. Donnelly?
No, not from defense.
Thank you.
And then I believe we're ready on Sanford.
No, we want to do the 30th. Okay, 30th, right, from the court. So the thing is that, I guess, yeah, I think I'll see if I'll waive it up, only because even if he's not eligible for mental health court, you can still get at least an offer up there anyway, so. Yeah, obviously, I need him to either go downstairs and talk to him, or have him brought up.
Okay, so then I think we're ready on Brown.
All right, so look, so we can bring up Brown. All right.
I haven't seen.
I'm ready.
Officer.
Oh, this is on Miss Hill.
Yeah. Lucas. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I should have said that.
I think we're Brown, right?
Brown, yeah.
Brown.
Yes, I do. And then I do have an exhibit on Brown as well.
All right, let's go ahead and mark that.
Yep. It's a flash drive with a surveillance video.
So mark that as exhibit 1.
Yep, exhibit 1.
I just got my computer here. It's gotta be charged.
She's not, no.
Yeah, sure.
I think I can.
Yeah,
We'll see.
The court's closed on Monday and Tuesday next week, right?
Is that inventory? Yeah, I think that's inventory.
So no Kilborn, but Carlson is.
Carlson's here, yep.
He said he worked last night.
Oh, well, we're going with them, so right now.
No, I mean, no, not Carlson. You're good.
Oh, Kilborn.
Kilborn, which isn't an excuse,
No, it's
but
not, but all right.
it's the one that's gonna use it, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Hard to mark.
Yeah, the flash drives are not really exhibits
Right,
for
that's-
size.
yep. So that's Brown. And then we've got Owens to bring up.
Yes,
And then Miss Donnelly's talking to Sanford Brisboy.
yes.
And we're doing Jackson with the sentencing this afternoon.
Yes. And then we did Russell. I think that should be everybody.
Nothing major, but- Yes, just review.
Yeah,
This is
just-
back.
yeah, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, is it not working?
Sorry, I was like, I changed my mind as I was walking out.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Do you need me? No, okay.
There's a.
We're finding more lawyers. It's not unusual on a Thursday, Friday. I think it's kind of funny that So we're on the record in docket 24-00304. That's People of the State of Michigan versus Lamar Brown. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson,
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Ms. Wanchi.
Melanie Elbiwanji for Mr. Brown, who is sitting at the council table.
Thank you. And sir, you are Lamar Brown, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a preliminary examination today. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe we're ready to proceed today.
All right. Are there any preliminary matters other than the sequestration order to come to the court's attention?
Yes, Your Honor, if we could take today's proceedings off of live stream, there may be witnesses that are watching.
Right. Any objection to stopping the live stream? Of course, the courtroom would be open. Ms. Wanchi.
No, you're not, thank you.